It is 5:45, so I will call to order the February 5th, 2026 regular meeting of the Hendersonville City Council. We begin our meetings with a silent invocation for people to pray or meditate as they choose, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll rise, please. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We are going to begin with some special recognitions. Mr. Polly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. Tonight is a special night, and I have the privilege of getting to MC the ceremonies here tonight. And thank you, Chief Miller, for being here. Thank you, Morgan, for getting him here. He spoke with me a lot about December 32nd, and you know, he could do a lot more things on December 32nd. Luckily, that is a made-up day, and so December 32nd, in my mind, means tomorrow, February 7th, whatever day tomorrow is. So still not here yet, Chief. You still have some work to do. So they said he would come, but they did say he would whine like a little boy, someone close to me. So make sure you had some tissues. But I'm very grateful for you being here tonight and honoring us with this, because you deserve a respectful appreciation for all your service, and appreciate you for being here. So this evening we have three separate recognitions. So from a logistics standpoint, if we could just wait until we finish all of those recognitions before we come to the front, and we'll take some pictures with each group of folks who've come here tonight to honor Chief Miller. And we'll start with Kai Lauder.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here. I'm Kai. I'm with the Office of Senator Ted Budd. I have a note here from the senator we'd like to read. Dear Chief Miller, congratulations on your retirement with more than 3 decades of distinguished service in the fire and emergency response profession. Since entering the fire service in 1991, you have had an exceptional career marked by professionalism, courage, and leadership. From your early service as a firefighter and EMT to your work in special operations, urban search and rescue, hazardous materials response, and incident management, you consistently answered the call to serve. After joining the Hendersonville Fire Department as Deputy Chief in 2016 and being sworn in as Fire Chief in March 2020, you led the department to significant accomplishments, and your steady leadership during and after Hurricane Helene exemplified the highest standards of public service for the Hendersonville community. Your commitment to education, preparedness, and service beyond the department, including your continued involvement with Edneyville Volunteer Fire and Rescue, reflects a career devoted not only to excellence, but to giving back. I also wish to recognize the support of your wife, Morgan, and your 6 adult children, whose sacrifices have been an essential part of your service. You leave behind a stronger department and a safer city. On behalf of the people of North Carolina, thank you for your service and best wishes for your well-earned retirement. Sincerely, Ted Budd, U.S. Senator. And I just want to say on a personal note, too, thank you for being such a great next-door neighbor to my parents for many years. And you're not allowed to move again, so.
Thank you, Kai, and thank you, Senator Budd. Thank you. Chief Ford and the command staff would like to do a special presentation for Chief Miller. That includes you, Pam.
All right. So, Madam Mayor, Senator Council, we're here tonight to celebrate Chief Miller, a leader who has guided the department with calm and clarity and unwavering dedication for the past 9 years. Chief, you've been more than a supervisor. You've been a mentor, a partner, and a steady hand through long days and nights, some of them right here in this room, for council meetings. Your leadership strengthened how we communicate and work together, and doing so made a lasting impact on the department and the community we serve. You taught us to learn up and teach down to prepare for the next generation of firefighters. This lesson will continue forward. Chief, we are honored to have you, honored to have been a part of your journey and served alongside you. Enjoy your well-earned retirement, and please know you're always welcome to come by for breakfast. And to Morgan, thank you for sharing us with him. We know it takes a special kind of woman to put up with us, firefighters, and we truly know you're a special lady. Your support means more than. We have a little plaque of recognition for Chief that we want to present for everything he's done for the fire service for 35 years and with us for 9 years.
For the final thank you from city management and from city council, and James, from me, you've been a mentor to me. You've taught me more than I could ever have wanted to know about the fire service. I'm dangerously smart about what it means to be a firefighter, and I owe that to you. I really do. You've been a great friend, and you really light up any room you come into. Something I loved about you. Come into a room, suck the air out of it, but it was always a happy room. So thank you for that, and thank you for always putting the best of the city forward. So, Madam Mayor, we have a proposed resolution tonight. If you don't mind, I'll read it, and then if you all would concur, you can take a motion on said resolution. So, whereas, a resolution of respect and appreciation for Fire Chief D. James Miller. Whereas Fire Chief Darren James Miller, Chief Miller, began his career in the fire service in 1991, serving the public for 35 years as a firefighter. And whereas Chief Miller held a variety of positions in the fire service, including firefighter, EMT, paramedic, lieutenant, administrative captain, battalion chief, and assistant chief, with specializations as a Type 2 urban search and rescue team officer, hazardous materials technician, special operations toxicological paramedic, and gold team member of a division of forestry incident management team. And whereas Chief Miller began his service to the city of Hendersonville on August 1st, 2016 as a deputy fire chief, and was later promoted to fire chief on March 5th, 2020. And whereas Chief Miller served a distinguished career with the city of Hendersonville, elevating and improving the fire department in numerous ways, including 1, designation as an ISO Class 1 agency rating, the highest possible public protection classification awarded to fire departments, representing superior fire suppression capabilities and a level that less than 1% of fire departments across the nation are able to achieve. The oversight and construction of the city's headquarters station, Fire Station Number 1, which served as the city's emergency operations center during the historic tropical storm Helene. Planning and replacement of engines 9-1, 9-2, and Tower 9-1. Planning and purchase of engine 9-3 in conjunction with the establishment of a third engine company, hiring 12 new firefighters, establishing battalion chiefs, and ultimately improving the city's reliability measure to greater than 90%. And 5, creating strong relationships with our neighboring departments, internal departments, and staff, and creating succession plans for advancement within our staff. And whereas Chief Miller has been an example leader for the city of Hendersonville, always keeping the best interests of the city at the forefront, and has provided tremendous value to all city stakeholders. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Hendersonville that 1, the Fire Station Number 1 training room be renamed in appreciation of Chief Miller's sound leadership throughout Tropical Storm Helene and his 10 years of service to the City of Hendersonville, its staff, residents, businesses, and visitors, to the Chief D. James Miller Emergency Operations Center. And 2, this resolution expresses a deep appreciation on behalf of the citizens of the city of Hendersonville for the valuable service which Fire Chief D. James Miller has provided to the city. Resolved this 5th day of February 2026.
Council, you've heard the resolution. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council approve the resolution of appreciation for Chief James Miller.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're not even going to call for the noes. The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Ask and permission to say a few words. So, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager, Mr. Connett, and Mr. Pauly. So thank you very much for the opportunity that you've afforded me. It's been an outstanding time. My lovely wife for tolerating many years of sleepless nights, getting up and leaving. I owe a lot to her as well, to the men and women of our organization. Outstanding. It's a pleasure to stand in front of them, work with them, gather the things that they need to do the work. The men and women are obviously the ones that take care of the citizens and visitors to our community. They're the ones doing all the work. Administratively, I've always said that we're there to provide them the tools that they need to get the job done. And through city management and city council, that you've afforded us that opportunity to give to our community and to our visitors. So thank you again for having faith in us and doing that. To the other department heads, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I'm blessed to have worked for a lot of people, and Mr. Connett, I can say this because I'm not employed at this time, but Mr. Connett was outstanding. He was the best city manager I ever worked for. He really did look after every single person in the community. He definitely held everybody's feet to the fire as far as what his expectations were from various departments. We didn't always agree on everything. He was always right. I'm willing to admit that now, but there were some times that I didn't think that we should take the upper hand or turn the cheek, and I was proved wrong by him. Mr. Pauly had a great opportunity with him. Mr. Connett somehow gave Mr. Pauly the fire department as one of his departments to have to look after. I thought it was supposed to be easier than it was. We had some bumps along the road, and he certainly held my feet to the fire when they needed to be, and they certainly did a couple times. He did give great constructive feedback, and so I'm very grateful to have had a good 5 or 6 years working underneath him. We got a lot accomplished. He was very supportive of me. So again, I'm not employed, so I can say these things honestly without feeling like they're going in my eval. So thank you again for everything. It's greatly appreciated. But I have been blessed to be here. I have been blessed to work for the citizens and visitors, and so I'm very thankful to each and every one of you. And so a lot that goes unsaid. We have an outstanding fire prevention division. We have a great life safety division. Our inspections, our training, everything's been outstanding. And so that's, again, it's the kudos ought to go to the men and women that in our department that make it look easy. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
And for those who, if council wants to get a picture with Chief Miller, we can just come up here really quick and do a quick couple pictures. Kai, I know you as well, probably need a picture, and command staff. Great. Go ahead and go first, Kai, since you're right there.
Go to Kai
Do
first.
Kai first, then council, and then command staff. Dusty, you got it.
Okay.
All right,
Polly?
Madam Mayor, we'll continue on with the next item, which is the swearing in of the next fire chief. And James, you got one last thing to do, and then you're free. December 32nd has arrived. We, thanks to Chief Miller's leadership, the decision to hire our next fire chief was very easy. I appreciate the staff for all their comments and work and talking with me about what they're looking for in their next leader and where they want to see the department go. I really do genuinely appreciate it. We're going to do the best to keep the department moving forward. And so tonight, we get to swear in Deputy Chief Justin Ward as the new fire chief. And so what we'll do is have the swearing in from the mayor, and I believe Lacey's going to hold the Bible for Chief Ward, and his family's going to come up. And then Chief Miller will do the pinning for Chief Ward and change of command.
Left hand on the... You'll repeat after me. I, and state your name, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I, and state your name, do swear that I will well and truly execute the duties of the office of the City of Hendersonville Fire Chief, according to the best of my skill and ability, according to law, so help me God.
Perfect, yeah. And John's got going up. I'm going to invite Chief Miller up to Chief Ward, and he is going to change of command and provide Chief his new badge.
All right, so before I pin, so, talk really loud, everybody will hear me anyway. Man, a few words. I just want to say that I'm very, very proud of everything that he's done over the last 10 years. He actually was, when we met, he was a captain on a fire truck, and we convinced him to come to the dark side, which means administration, which is not the best job. That's the job that no one wants to do, and you have to coerce and swindle people into coming over to the dark side, and he bought it lock, stock, and barrel. And so he came over and he started a division, the life safety division. We had one inspector who would go out and do some businesses, and we knew that that was an area that we needed to work up, and he was willing to come over and start the division for the very first time, and that came with a lot of complexity, people showing up in businesses that hadn't been there, and sometimes 10, 12, or 15 years. So making that initial breakthrough, hiring staff, becoming part of the command staff with the chief, the deputy chief, and then the fire marshal. So he took that fire marshal role, created a division, hired people, got it off the ground, did all the groundwork for it, the paperwork, went and did the dirty work of having to meet with the businesses and speak with them. And so he did an outstanding job. We were thrilled about that. And then he had the opportunity with my stepping up to come in, and he, again, got swindled into accepting the deputy chief position. And so we've done that. He's done operations, he's done administration, he's done fire marshal, been on the line. So all around, very well-rounded, an outstanding young man. He's going to do great things for the fire department. And so, along with Ms. Pam to keep him in line, he'll have the sky's the limit. So he's going to lead a fantastic department. He's a fantastic young man. He'll do plenty of great things. I'm excited to watch him grow and flourish and take the fire department even farther than it's been. So please welcome me in joining Chief Ward for new fire chief for Hendersonville. Wrong dad.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that concludes everything we had planned. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your service, Chief Miller, and we're looking forward to having you work with us, Chief Ward. Okay, I will take a couple minutes. Anyone who doesn't want to stay for our exciting business meeting is free to leave.
Don't say goodbye, say see you later. Hey.
Wow.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you again.
Yeah. Okay. First item is usually public comment. We have nobody who signed up for public comment in person. Is anyone online seeking recognition for general public comment?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, then we'll move on to consideration of the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have added to or removed from the agenda? Or if not, a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Not, those in favor of approving the agenda as presented say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and we have our agenda. Consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda so it can be discussed? If not, a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that the City Council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, those in favor of approving this consent agenda as presented say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and we have that. All right. Move through that first page. We've got some presentations. Fire Chief Ward, you're first on the list. Consideration of fire apparatus purchase.
What a way to start.
So yes, they're putting me right to the, right
spend our
at
money.
it. So, hopefully this works. Yeah. So again, thank y'all, Madam Mayor, City Council. We are here to talk about replacing our fire apparatus. So currently we have a engine that is up for replacement. We did a CPO back last June, and it come in a little more than we're expecting, and that's kind of across the board for the fire truck industry right now. So what we're replacing is a 2007 E1 Typhoon. We purchased it, the city purchased it in the May of 2007, and it currently has over 103,000 miles just in this little town that we've had here. So how we replace our engines is we try to get them on track to doing 10 years frontline and then 5 years as a reserve, and then we can sell those to try to get some, to recoup some of those funds back. Over the past years, there's been some safety and performance issues that have been found upon in the industry, and the NFPA has regulated those and increased some capabilities of the apparatus. One of those have been, they've increased the rollover protection to protect our firefighters in the event of an accident. The cabin integrity testing, they have some seatbelt warnings now, which is kind of crazy to think about over the past 15 years. They have some acceleration and top speed limitations that are now incorporated into the computer systems for those apparatus, and enhance the work and step work surface lighting to make the scene safer for our firefighters while they're there. They've increased the retroreflective striping on the rear of the apparatus so we're more visible while our staff is out on the scenes of accidents. And they've introduced the DEF systems to enhance the stability measures for fire trucks. So currently this is our replacement schedule, what we have of our fleet. Obviously you can see engine 9 was one of the newer engines that we just purchased. We got in service last year, or 2 years ago, and it already has 10,000 miles on it. So we were hoping to replace it in 2039. This one that we were replacing is engine 5, which is kind of lower at the bottom of the chart here that you see on the screen, and it's got over 103,000 miles, which is interesting because engine 9.4 is the one that used to be engine 9. We replaced it, moved it to the reserve status, and it already had over 100,000 miles on it, all in the city here. So that's our schedule, kind of what we do for that. So talked a little bit about the history of the pricing. Back in 2003 when we purchased that engine, it cost just under $750,000. With the price increase during COVID and the steel shortage, that it has drastically jumped up since then in the price. So a new engine to replace the same one we purchased at $735,000 is almost $1.2 million now. And this is seen nationwide, all apparatus, all manufacturers. There's no particular manufacturer that's not seeing that price increase. The tower that we were put in service also in 24 or 23 was 1.4 when we purchased it. When we took possession of that, if we ordered it that day, they said that it would cost over $2.2 million to replace that truck then. So, and that was just in about 2 years of build time for that apparatus, to give you a perspective. Currently, a new engine. We have a committee that we put together from all three shifts to come up with how we want to see this new truck. It's pretty much the same exact truck that we have now that we purchased in '23, trying to keep our fleet consistent across the trucks so whoever's riding those apparatus know where everything's at. And this concept we're looking at as a Quint. So what that is more like a smaller scaled ladder truck. And what that would do is give us some capabilities. It's a more versatile apparatus. It kind of combines a fire engine and a ladder truck and puts it all together in one boat. It still has the same pumping capabilities of an engine. It still has the water capacity of an engine instead of a ladder truck, because a ladder truck has less water on it than a pumper does. So instead of having 300 gallons, we'll have 500 gallons on this said truck. Still has the fire hose. It does give us an elevated master stream, a hose on top of the ladder truck. And this would also give us the ability to perform rescue operations for our staff depending on the complexity of the incident. So currently this is our ISO map that we have from downtown Station 1. So in the middle you can see, oh, nope, go back. Oh, what happened? So right here, Station 1, as you can see over here to the legend, they have a 1.5 and a 2.5 miles. And the 1.5 is kind of the darker maroon. And then the outskirts of that is kind of a little harder to see, but it's kind of like a little duller color maroon. So that is the 1.5 is a fire rating for an engine, the distance that the ISO system gives us. So from downtown, it's road miles. It's not just like just a plop a mile and a half each way. So the road miles is kind of what gives us downtown for the 1.5. And then the 2.5, you can see, dang it, over here at the top is I-26. So we kind of lose our 2.5 mile radius, our response area for a ladder truck for that reason. So here's currently Station 2, where it's located is right here in the middle. And this is a 1.5 mile radius for our engine response, because that's all we currently have at that station. We have a couple of reserve engines, but we do not have a ladder truck. So putting a ladder truck out there and rating it as a ladder truck gives us a lot more travel distance and more bang for our buck having another apparatus this ladder truck out there. As you can see, this is I-26, and it kind of covers back into here, goes into the backside out Clear Creek, gives us a little more coverage out there for our folks that live out there off of Howard Gap Road and even out Chimney Rock Road as well. So that would give us the 2.5 miles for a ladder truck for our ISO rating to help out with that. Let me catch up on my notes. So this is where it would be. So let me go back, sorry. So this is Station 2 currently, and what we have out there is we've got 104 multifamily dwellings that are more than 2 stories. So this is just Station 2 facts. We have 8 hotels that we response out of Station 2, which are over 3 stories high. We have 3 large industrial buildings, which is pretty much McMurray Road corridor there. And then we have 5 large retail spaces, the Lowe's, the Home Depot, the Walmarts. Those are all large areas that take up a lot of square footage. And having this elevated master stream could help us help rescues on those multifamily dwellings and give us another aerial stream to help out with mitigating fire and incidents over the larger buildings. Currently, under the permitting phases for what we have going on at Station 2, we have another hotel. We have 20 3-story apartment buildings that are under construction or in the permitting phase right now, and then another industrial building on McMurray Road. So that's over 250,000 square feet. This does not include any of the townhomes. So the Clear Creek subdivisions that come in out there that are townhomes that don't require sprinkler systems or anything like that, our folks, our fire marshals, don't go in there and do any inspections on those. So that's just counting the occupancies that we go out and look at. So why this Quint concept? This is something that we looked at that kind of combines the best of both worlds. It gives us a ladder truck, the capacities of a ladder truck and the capacities of an engine. Gives us obviously more response areas for our 2.5 mile. It will help with our ISO ratings. It gives us a larger capacity for the truck to pump at, so it'll have a larger capacity instead of just a regular fire engine. And then that is all I have, and that will have to turn it over to Adam for the budget stuff. Any questions before I turn it over to him? All right, thank you.
Everybody's favorite part of the presentation. So Mayor and Council, good evening. Justin's done a great job explaining the benefits of the Quint apparatus as compared to the engine. For you all's consideration, last June, Council adopted this project ordinance for $850,000 to replace the existing Engine 5 with what we thought was going to be another engine. So at the time, based on prior cost estimates, that budget was $850,000. And we're proposing to fund that through a loan and installment financing contract, which we would go to the LGC for. Obviously, with some cost change, we're looking at the principal increasing to $1,640,000, so a $790,000 increase. Using some estimates under a 15-year borrowing term, a rate of 5.35%, which we think is conservative, estimating that we'll issue that debt in calendar year 2027 under a level debt service assumption. This apparatus replacement would cost the city about $161,000 out of the general fund annually. We added a quick comparison of the existing debt service estimate for the $850,000 engine replacement, so you can see that that was $83,000 a year. With the additional $790,000, that adds about $78,000 a year. So tonight, for your consideration, we do have a budget amendment with this item, and that simply increases the $850,000 appropriation for the Quint replacement to $1.64 million, and we have a suggested motion below. And I'm happy to help with any questions.
Any questions?
Adam, the financing term is 15 years?
Yes. We looked at a 20-year option, but based on the life of the apparatus, we're recommending 15. So we're not issuing debt beyond the useful life of the apparatus while it's in service.
And Chief Ward, construction time, if I remember, is about 600 days. Is that correct? So if we order tomorrow, it's 600 days, so definitely, but almost 2 years.
And the original plan was to go to the LGC anyway for the $850,000.
That's correct.
And the expected life of service for this is still 10 and then 5 in reserve?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And one thing I would add, based on the cost escalation, we are more looking at 1.2 million versus 1.6 million, right? It's not 850 to 1.6. Bottom line, we're going to have to pay at least over 1.2 for a engine pumper.
I think with the increased capacity and just the development we have out in that region of the city, it totally makes sense to do this. And I think it gives us better capacity for the denser developments out there. And this is the right move for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate the foresight of thinking about what's in the permitting stages and what it's going to be like out there and what capacity I'll need. I think it's wise to do it now.
I agree.
All right, thank you. Council, any discussion or a motion?
Madam Mayor.
Whoa, everybody.
All of us, not everybody at once.
I already did one, so I'll bow out.
Go ahead, Melinda.
Madam Mayor, I move City Council adopt Amendment 02052026-03, increasing project number 25010 budget by $790,000 to a total of $1,640,000 for the acquisition of a Quint apparatus to replace fire engine 9-5.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not? Those in favor of approving the project budget, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and you can get that order in.
Thank you. And Mayor Vogt, members of the City Council, if you'll allow me, I would like to excuse Chief Ward so he can have dinner with his family. Chief, I will say there will not be another purchase this easy. You are on your honeymoon tonight, so after that, it may get a little tougher. So, thank you.
Okay, next we have a presentation from the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. And if you'd introduce yourself, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Gary Linton. I'm the president of the chapter, our regional chapter here, Blue Ridge chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution, SAR, along with our sister compatriots and the Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR. We are a genealogical society in that we are direct descendants of patriots who served in the Revolution. And we have a lot of outreach programs and activities, public education, promoting patriotism, doing things like that to promote our history. And relative to promoting patriotism, my fellow compatriot Mike Mills is here as our flag certificate chairman, and he would like to take it from there for the city presentation.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening, Mayor and
Good evening.
members of the council, Mr. Manager. Thanks for the opportunity to make this quick presentation. As Gary alluded to, we, the Blue Ridge chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution, we occasionally recognize residences, businesses, or government facilities that are proudly displaying the American flag in accordance with the U.S. code, U.S. flag code. So that's what we're here for tonight. We noticed that in front of City Hall, the city administration offices, there's a flag properly lit and proudly displayed in a patriotic manner. So we'd like to present this certificate that reads from the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution. This certificate of commendation is presented to the city of Hendersonville in recognition of exemplary patriotism in the display of the flag of the United States of America. So congratulations for doing what you're doing, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you again for having us here, especially this year, the 250th anniversary of our country. And we will hope to see you at the 4th of July parade. We're scheduled to march in it.
We are definitely going to be there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, now we have a community engagement presentation, and here she comes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm not here to ask you for any money. I'm just going to give you an update on some really great community engagement initiatives that we have going on. I'm going to cover two this evening. The first will be Build Hendersonville, which is our participatory budgeting process, and then Core of the City Academy, which is the city's Citizens Academy. It's an 8-week public education program. So we'll start with Build Hendersonville. As I said, it's a participatory budgeting process. Just as a reminder, that's a process in which community members decide how a portion of the city's budget is spent. The budget for FY27 is currently set at $25,000. This is a pilot year. We wanted to see how it went. Eligible applicants were city residents and business owners, and the requirements are that it must be used toward an asset. So this can't go towards programmatic costs or new staff. So applications opened on October 20th and closed on December 19th. We had 23 project ideas submitted, and you can see some of them highlighted there. But we decided to do kind of 3 stages of the review process, and I'll kind of dig into those. Phase 1 is the manager's review, Phase 2 is citywide voting, and Phase 3 is a departmental review. So Phase 1 is complete. That was the manager's review. We took a couple things into consideration, including things like jurisdiction, project cost, applicant participation. We did ask those that applied to work with the city and the departments that will be completing their projects, strategic alignment, and then we asked applicants to gather neighborhood signatures, kind of petition style. 10 of the 23 projects advanced to Phase 2. You can see our scorecard embedded up there. So we've got 3 major categories: neighborhood buy-in, strategic alignment, and then feasibility. So Phase 2 is currently in progress, and that is citywide voting. Voting opened on January 28th, and it actually closes this Monday at 5. If you have not voted, please vote. As of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, we had 332 votes submitted, which I think is great engagement for the first year. And you can kind of see the vote breakdown there. And then Phase 3, we will move on to departmental reviews. The goal is to be able to do this project, or multiple if that's what's selected, in-house. We don't want to contract this out. So we will be meeting with the departments that are possibly impacted to make sure that we can do that work. So I'll actually go back and pause if you have any questions or comments before I move on to core. Good, all right. So the second initiative that we have going on is Core of the City Academy. This is the also pilot year. It is a Citizens Academy. There will be 8 sessions that are held from March 10th to April 28th. And participants will hear from every single department in the city. Some counties or municipalities have departmental specific citizens academies, but we really wanted it to be kind of core of the city. So they will hear from everybody, GIS to finance to environmental services. It does include equipment and facility tours, both of our treatment plants, the police department, the fire department, and then I believe Chief Ward is going to show off the Jaws of Life. It is free to attend, and because it's right after work, we're going to be serving dinner as well. And applications are open until February 20th. We do have some requirements for the enrollees to graduate, and that is to attend 6 of the 8 sessions and then complete 1 extracurricular activity. This could be a police or fire ride-along. They could go out and see a new capital project that's being built, or come to a city council meeting. So one of the main reasons that we wanted to come speak to you tonight is to go over the proposed criteria for selection. So there are 20 seats available, and as of this afternoon, we have 77 applicants, which great. So we've got 3 main areas of criteria. First is residency. We are proposing to have 15 seats to be city residents, and then have 5 be at-large seats, so anybody that doesn't live within the city. And then also taking age and occupation into consideration. What we're trying to do is create a representative cohort. And we believe that off the information gathered on applications, that this may be the best way to go about that. So I will open the floor up to questions, comments, feedback.
Do you know off the top of your head how many of the 77 applicants are city residents versus at large?
We have not, because applications are open. We haven't dug through that yet, but we will end up.
I'll be very curious to see what the breakdown is.
Absolutely. And one other thing that we want to offer you all is an opportunity to nominate a participant. So once applications closed, if you like, I'm more than happy to send you the list of applicants, and you can nominate somebody.
Can we toss around the idea of reserving a couple spots for students if they apply? I think
Absolutely,
that would be
yeah.
cool. I don't know like what the makeup of applicants are, but I would love to see young folks engaged if they want to be and get a little leg up in that.
Absolutely. And I did do some outreach to the high school. I think next year we'll do more, like actual going and speaking to a class. But if you all would like to head in that direction, I see no issue with that.
Or one? I don't know.
Well, there's nothing right now that says that a high school student can't participate, right?
Well, they have to be 18.
Okay, gotcha.
So it would have to be a senior, just because of legalities and liabilities. And
Well, and hopefully, like, in coming years, if we can do more outreach, then we'll have more kids that are 18. And if they're gonna try to make the groups a large makeup, well then, in theory, one of them. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that is the plan for next year. Like we said, this is a pilot program. There's definitely going to be lessons learned. So next year, having more time to do that kind of outreach, and but I think that that's a great idea to get the young people involved.
Well, and it sounds like we're already gonna have a wait list, so.
Yeah, 77, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and we're actually in discussions of how to handle that, right? Do we roll those automatically over to next year? Do we have them reapply next year? So those, we're still having those conversations to figure it out, but we're leaning towards having a wait list.
Yeah, I feel like if they applied this year, then they should get first dibs on next year if they didn't get in. That seems fair.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So with that, I just want to give a shout out to city staff, especially for CORE. We've been working on this thing for like 3 months. And not only department heads, but frontline staff are getting in there and building out these sessions. And I think it's going to be a really engaging and exciting thing for the public to come in and see who we are and what we do. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to everyone involved. All right. We have 2 public hearings this evening. First one is a conditional rezoning, 1207 Canoga Road. Here comes Mr. Manley.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Yes, this first item is a CZD out on Canoga Road. It's for a single parcel. It's 0.81 acres, a little bit smaller in scale than maybe some of the other CZDs that have come before you. This is proposed to be rezoned. It's R15 currently. Proposal is to rezone it to C4 CZD. The applicant, Greg Grooms with Blue Pinnacle Homes, is here and can answer questions at the appropriate time. There was a neighborhood compatibility meeting held. It was lightly attended. It's a lower density area out there, but we did have a few folks, and we had some questions. There is a stream and a floodplain adjacent to the property, and so there were some questions around that, and then also this change of use from residential to business, and then some other particulars around that. Taking a look at the site, on the upper left is the corner of Drake Street and Canoga. To the right would be the intersection, another parcel over, another block down would be the intersection of State Street and Canoga, Irkwood. The upper right photo is kind of the opposite corner of the front of the house. That area in the foreground is the largest kind of undeveloped open space that's currently on the 0.81 acres. The bottom left is this ditch that runs along the front of the property, and then in the back right background you can see some corn stalks. That's a adjacent agricultural use that is also in the Shepherd Creek floodplain. Shepherd Creek runs under Canoga right here at this about midway in the picture. And then on the bottom right is a paint and body shop that's directly adjacent to the rear of the subject property. So we have a site plan here. It's depicted in 2 phases. The first phase is with the existing structure on it, and that would be to convert that existing residential structure into an office And that use would be office, professional, business, professional, and public. And that would be all of phase one, adding the parking for that office use and just the conversion of that existing building. That would house 3 to 4 employees for the business that's proposed by the applicant. Could change to another business, could change to another number of employees, though at 1,200 square feet, it's not a very large structure. Phase 2 would be for adding 4 residential units, as that's shown in blue on the site plan. Those are 4 attached, like townhomes. Condos is the most likely scenario where those would not be traditionally subdivided, but they would be condominiumized. The existing residential, I mentioned the 1,200 square foot. It has a footprint of 2,100 square feet because of large porches and outdoor space that's not heated and cooled. The proposed residential structures would be 1,600 square feet gross floor area with an 800 square foot footprint, 1-car garage on the first level with a max height of 35 feet. The transportation serving this, you have Canoga and Drake Street. Those are both NCDOT maintained roads. Site plan shows one ingress off of Canoga to a one-way driveway that curves around the rear of the site to one egress onto Drake Street. And the proposed full, and that maybe gets reversed. And we'll talk with DOT about that. They'll be the ultimate deciding party. But if you do have people turning left back towards town, for instance, I think it's going to be better to pull those movements further away from the State Street intersection rather than having folks come out at Drake to make that movement. Sidewalks are required, either construction or fee in lieu of sidewalks on Canoga and Drake, so both frontages. There is this got discussed at Planning Board, and there was a condition proposed, but it's been clarified that it would just be that would be introduced at the time that the residential structures were going under construction, which is how we would that's how we would apply it according to our code anyway. So, all the site lighting will have to conform to the city's standards, mainly related to the stream buffer and non-residential development adjacent to residential. Parking is 1 per 400 square feet for a total of 3 for the office use, and then 1 for each of the units. And they get to 3 bedrooms, they have to have 1.5 spaces. The natural resources, the stream buffer, there's a blue line indicated right at the property line on the southern boundary, and so that does require a 50-foot, 30-foot stream buffer with a 20-foot transition area. The developer is proposing a condition to waive that 20-foot transition area but maintain the 30-foot stream buffer. And I'll just note that the creek could also be piped according to our code, in which case a buffer would not be required. There's also a 100-year floodplain, just a small portion representing these pink lines. It kind of bulbs out onto the bottom corner, and it's all within that 30-foot stream buffer, so it's not impacted or proposed to be impacted. Tree preservation, the site currently has 7,700 square feet which is about 22% of the site has tree canopy. The proposed site does not trigger preservation requirements. The developer is proposing trees to be preserved, 2 large oaks near the existing structure on the north side of the property, 1 large magnolia at the rear of the existing structure, plus any canopy that's along the stream buffer. And these trees account for the majority of the mapped canopy on the site. The developer is proposing to remove 1 walnut and some other scrub trees. And then the planting requirements would involve buffer plantings on the south side, vehicular screening plantings on the upper west side, and street trees. So in total, the landscape requirements So some of those landscaping requirements could be met with tree credits, and that would be determined at the final site plan. I mentioned some of the conditions. The first one is the waiver of the 20-foot transitional area. The other one, alternative compliance. So essentially, where there is existing vegetation. So we have tree credits, but we don't have shrub credits. And so there are buffers require shrub plantings, but if there's existing vegetation there in that buffer, we don't want to remove mature vegetation. And so we can resolve that through alternative compliance, which is outlined in our ordinance. So basically, the developer's highlighting that that may be an option that he wants to explore, but otherwise would just fill gaps. If there are any gaps, fill those with the new plant. And then the third one relates, again, it's kind of covered in the ordinance already, but essentially saying that at the time of the condo construction, they would resolve their requirement to construct sidewalks or pay a fee in lieu of sidewalks. The third option that is in our ordinance is that we can identify another site where sidewalks are needed, and they can construct an equivalent linear distance of sidewalks in that location. There were two city proposed conditions. The developers agreed to both. One relates to tree protection, where the driveway is hugging the magnolia tree. We want to make sure that impacts to that magnolia tree root system are mitigated, and then to preserve those oak trees. They're covered with English ivy currently, and there are proper ways to remove that where you do not damage those trees. So we would provide guidance on how to do that as part of that. Taking a look at the future land use map, it is currently designated family neighborhood living. There's a small amount of open space on the parcel, and further to the south along the Shepherd Creek floodplain. To the north, you see it shifts to MGL, multi-generational living. Across Canoga Road, you see a large swath of the open space protection in the Mud Creek floodplain. And then there's a concentration of neighborhood center at the intersection of State Street and Canoga. And the neighborhood center character was intended to identify the area around this intersection as a small node for neighborhood business activities, reflecting both the current and future economic opportunities. The current being the voluntary agricultural district, which is at the south sector of the Canoga-Irkwood intersection, the Johnson family farm. So that's a bona fide farm, so they're exempted from zoning requirements, so they're allowed to have commercial activity with certain parameters in exchange for that agricultural use and for remaining eligible in that program. It was Planning Board's finding that the proposed rezoning was consistent with family neighborhood living, so there would be no change proposed. And that's due to the existing residential structure being utilized for the small office. They felt like that was not a significant change in the character with the preservation of that existing structure. And then the residential uses that are proposed would be allowed by right in R15, primarily under the more recent zoning ordinance reforms that were made last spring. And so that was a change from staff's recommendation. Continuing to look at the comprehensive plan consistency, staff found that the C4 was inconsistent with family neighborhood living, but again, Planning Board revisited that and is recommending that it is consistent with FNL. For compatibility, the subject property, we're looking at the existing conditions.
Excuse me, Matt.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, can you go back one slide?
Yeah.
When it said, under the character area description, it says inconsistent with FNL, but consistent with neighborhood center, so are those two different?
That was the staff recommendation.
Okay.
But you'll see when we get to the comprehensive plan consistency statement, that was recommended by the planning board. Rather than find it inconsistent with FNL and then redesignate it as some other character district, they recommended that it was consistent with FNL and said no change would be needed. The map would stay unamended. If we found it inconsistent, then it would automatically be amended per state law. So then staff would provide guidance to council on what it should be amended to. So that's what that reflects, is that we were saying, you know, if it's found inconsistent with FNL, then neighborhood center would be an appropriate new designation in the future land use map. So the subject property is in the ETJ, R15. That's medium density residential zoning. A majority of the properties are in the vicinity are also R15. The across Canoga Road properties are zoned R40. That gets into that Johnson Family Farm. R40, typically you don't have markets and some of the commercial activity that they have, but I've already explained how that's being permitted. But it has changed the character of the area and introduced commercial uses in this area. There's also a Duke Energy substation to the south, and south of that is Raymond's Garden Center. And then I mentioned behind the subject property is a paint and body shop. And then in terms of residential, there was a rezoning to R10 nearby. Saddlebrook has about 5.5 units per acre. And then just across the street, just across State Street from Saddlebrook is a small multifamily apartment complex. So there is some variety of land uses in this area. The existing conditions continuing, the subject property is largely impacted by its location on this heavily trafficked corridor on Canoga Road and its proximity to the key intersection at State Street in Irkwood. The future single-family, two-family residentials at this location fronting on Canoga is limited. Development proposed under C4 CZD zoning is found to be compatible with the surrounding land uses and aligns with the goals and guiding principles of the Gen H plan, especially as it relates to providing a mix of housing types and a mix of uses and preferred pattern of development around the node at that intersection. Excuse me. Taking a look at the changed conditions, I mentioned the Bonafide Farm. That commercial activity has increased in this area, and increased opportunities for appropriately scaled commercial uses around that intersection. In terms of the public interest, staff finds that the proposal aligns with the objectives and actions identified in the city's recently adopted strategic housing plan, that the introduction of a mix of uses at a compatible scale can provide a number of benefits. For the public facilities, staff finds that the street network in this area lends itself to non-residential uses on the major routes, while residential uses should be confined to the local streets. The traffic patterns and safety concerns along this corridor have been identified in the MPO's Regional Safety Action Plan. There are existing city utilities available to the subject property as well. For the natural environment, there is a proposed net gain for tree canopy. The proposed condition to reduce the transition area is a relaxation of our city ordinances, but they would maintain the 30-foot stream buffer, and the 100-year floodplain on the site is undisturbed by the proposal. So I mentioned planning board made the following comprehensive plan consistency statement, and they added, it's a little bit longer than typical because they added some rationale to their statement, finding it consistent with the family neighborhood living because of the small scale of the proposed commercial use and the fact that it is going in an existing residential structure which maintains the neighborhood character. Additionally, the proposed residential units would be permitted by right under the current residential zoning. So fair reasoning by the planning board there. They also provided these 4 points of rationale, and then staff also has some draft rationale for denial for your consideration. And I'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Manley?
Matthew, I believe you addressed
Pull
that.
the microphone.
Oh, Mr. Mann, I believe you addressed that issue about the traffic. I'm just thinking about the infrastructure there. 'Cause during summer, we have the camps in that area. It's already congested in there. So you're working with DOT about traffic pattern and add those units there may create another traffic problem.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not only the camps, but the orchards out there. I was out there this late summer and a few times, and there is a lot of traffic out there. I don't know, not part of your daily travel, you may not recognize that as much, but it has increased significantly. This was a major point of conversation during the planning board for an initial round of a rezoning, which included this parcel and some others, that did not proceed to y'all. But two rezonings have gone to planning board in this area at the end of last year. There is a state-funded traffic improvement project that's been identified for the Canoga Road corridor. And it scored well enough to get funded through the spot prioritization. And then it was on the STIP, and it received, as the project went to proceed, the residents in the area pushed back. They didn't want the right-of-way acquisition to impact their properties. They did not want to see the change. And so rather than have, an improved intersection there all the way into town to Busy Bend, and going out towards some more rural areas with safe, bicycle and pedestrian facilities, shoulders that would be, forgiving. We have what we have today, and because of that pushback, that project got unfunded. And so the likelihood of it getting put back in as a priority, it's gotten a lot of attention. The traffic's gotten more. Now we've got, interest in that area. So the conversation is back. And so it would really take I think a concerted effort by a number of folks, including the residents out there, to try to basically have a change of heart about that and try to get it brought back onto the table, and maybe in a reduced capacity. That project that was identified has already been shortened, so it doesn't go as far out into the rural area, and it would stop at Price Road. It is a concern. The impact of what is proposed with this CZD, in my opinion, is very minimal for residential units. Is not going to have any significant impact. The problems are larger than that, and this would be minimal impact. So if it was a larger development, maybe we're looking at a TIA and finding some results there that would require that development to offset their impacts, things like that. But we're not in that situation with just 4 units and 3 or 4 employees, and those are going to complement each other in terms of travel times as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Will you walk me through real quick where the sidewalk discussion is right now?
That they're going to provide sidewalks.
On Drake? On Canoga?
They're required to provide it on Drake and Canoga. There are complications with the ditch.
Yeah.
On Canoga. Drake Street is less constrained, but there is a nice retaining wall that goes around the property. But it's not as impactful on Drake Street. So it's also not the busier street.
Right.
So I don't know how,
there's not really
how much good it would do. So we'll have to measure that and weigh that, and then I think the developer is, the property owner has shown to be open to, viable solutions, and as long as they're reasonable, right? We don't want to put sidewalks where they're not going to have a great benefit. But if there's a place where we can put some, or fees that can be paid for the city to go out and follow, prioritization from Walk-Indo, fill a gap that's needed somewhere nearby, then that would be ideal. Or because he's in home construction, contractor, he could go out and build them if we can identify a good spot. So I think all that is on the table basically at this point, no final decision. And that will be John is Mr. City Manager's decision according to the ordinance, and so we'll inform him and he will give us direction at that time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manley. Would the requester like to make a presentation?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, council members. It's a pleasure to be able to present before you. My name is Greg Grooms. I'm the owner of Blue Pinnacle Homes. I'm a U.S. veteran. I've been in construction basically my whole life, home building. Graduated from University of Florida in construction management, so this is what I do. I currently live in Beaumont Estates, which is about 1.5 miles up the road from this particular site. And so I know this area very well, travel it every day, so discussions of traffic and whatnot I'm very, very aware of. So anything I can answer in that regard, I indeed will. So we chose this property. So I've had my company in Hendersonville for approximately probably 5 years, 6 years. This past year we bumped along for a little while, really not with a big intent of growth. And then this past year we really decided to take it the next step and try to grow the company a fair amount more. I was doing that out of our home. Hired a few employees, and my wife said they got to get off the kitchen table, so it was time to do something. And this site became available, and based on the analysis of one location and then two, really a lot that was around the site in terms of the commercial aspects of it, it seemed like a great opportunity for the potential of an office. Now, an office for us is not necessarily it's not what I would consider a commercial office. I mean, we don't have a lot of customers daily coming in and out kind of thing. It's really more about a place for employees to sit and work out of. We may have an occasional customer come by. We'll have a design studio, but we probably build somewhere between 5 to 8 homes a year, so this is not something in terms of high volume. So that was really the genesis of the purchase of this property. When we purchased it, it was quite dilapidated. It was heavily overgrown. Many people didn't recognize it prior to us removing a lot of the scrub that was around it and the cleanup. It's been a very warm welcome from the neighbors that have really appreciated, reviving this site and the home. The home is a 1920s home. It was born in 1920. I believe it was the day after we closed on it, or some couple days after. I was out working in the site, and 2 gentlemen pulled up, and they were older gentlemen in their 70s, and they asked if I just purchased it, and they told me that they grew up in the house and that their grandfather did all the stonework on the home. So they walked me through the house. They told me about different aspects of it. There's a little smokehouse out there that their mom's name was on, and I gave them the door. It was very special in terms of just understanding a bit of the history behind this, the great structure. So it really inspired us to try everything we can to preserve the natural, because it's the whole exterior pretty much is done in stone, and it was all done by their grandfather. So that's been a very special part, and a lot of the stone walls that we're talking about, the retaining walls, and there was a lot of discussion about sidewalks, and that was definitely one of my concerns. Was I really don't want to disturb that initial natural integrity of those walls. So that's where a lot came from, talking about how do we do this without maybe taking that level of disturbance. So ultimately, step one for us was to preserve a site for our office. Step two was, and this was kind of secondary, but the opportunity for implementing a site for some additional housing became something of interest, as there's certainly a need for that, as you know, in the Gen H and the discussions of the growth of the city. So that became an opportunity to say there's a chance here that we could actually put in 4 additional units. So site beautification, renovation of the house, adding the parking, and I'll kind of stay here on this slide. This is a good one to talk through. Adding a company sign, and then really instilling the landscaping that's required. But as this is our office, it's very much our intent to beautify this whole site. Indeed, if we end up, building units on it, I mean, it's going to be whether they end up being for sale or rent, it's going to matter what they look like. So that's very much in our hearts that we care about. And then this phase 2 would be the condo additions, as we've discussed. And part of that would be, as Matt mentioned, and he did a great job of explaining this, but there's one walnut tree, as you can see, for the driveway. That walnut tree would be removed. There's a garage that this goes right past. That garage would be removed, and it's probably needs to be removed anyway. There is a shed, kind of hard to see in it, but there's a shed to the west of those units that would come out as well. That magnolia tree that we talked about preserving is a beautiful large magnolia that will do everything to keep that and preserve that. So the idea really is to bring, whether it is coming off of Drake or off of Cayuga, bringing in direction one way, which definitely allows for parking to be much easier for the units, and not dealing with intersecting traffic. So that was kind of the thought behind that. Matt talked all through the proposed conditions, the waiver conditions. I'd be happy to answer any questions in terms of what we propose there. The changes in terms of the overall site, I would tell you that, ultimately when we're all done in the calculation, we've determined that we've preserved 71% of green space in this. I believe our 15 is 40%. So we definitely, even with the addition of adding the units and the driveways and the drive-through, we're still maintaining a high level of green space. And then we had some, anything from, understanding picture-wise. I know Matt had gone through and had in his packet some aerials to look at, and I can provide those if needed. But ultimately, adding the units, we were thinking of, we talked about the impact of the, there you go, thank you. Technologically. Okay, so yeah, here's a few of the aerials. So this is that southeast corner. I was gonna mess it up. Which button do I? The top one? Okay. So this would be ultimately the site for the condos right here. There you go. So a good kind of footprint of where those condos would ultimately go, and the idea that that cars at this point would come in off of Cayuga, turn onto Drake. This is the northeast corner. So I've got Johnson Family Farm to my rear and left. So I go on it. So this would be the location for the parking, okay? And you can kind of see already where we've cleared and cleaned a lot of this and the site itself. These are the two big oaks that Matt referred to that will need to be cleaned off with the ivy. But that's the walnut tree that would be removed for the driveway. It's the northwest corner. These are relatively recent, so a lot of the pictures maybe that Matt had showed, is a lot of some of the modifications that we've made, not really modifications, but just cleaning up. I mean, we had ivy all over the walls, and we've replaced the siding and really kind of brought it back. Okay, so these are more eye-level directionals. So if you see, this one here is standing here looking at this fence. So this is sort of looking right directly at the parking. Number 2 is looking down that fence where that parking will be. Number 3 is looking directly toward that back fence as well. Number 4 is standing, there's that shed I was telling you about that will be. And then 5 is standing out in the yard, ultimately looking through the condo. Same here from the south property line. Number 1 is just standing on the north, looking south into the, it's looking into kind of the front door, if you will. Number 2, standing in that same area with the parking to the right, looking into the back. This is kind of indicative of where they talked about the type B buffer being potentially needed it for sure in areas like this where it's open, but we get over here, it's very highly buffered naturally, so probably wouldn't be the ideal place for adding buffer. And lastly, number 3 is looking here, looking back toward that site buffer. Right there, you can kind of see that heavy buffer back here. And this is a little more open. Same thing with east property line. Matt talked about this. Kind of hard to see, it's a little dark, but number 2, you're looking down Canoga. And this is that rock wall that we're talking about. That's the rock wall that we want to preserve. Number 3 is there's Johnson Farm right there, so that's looking back toward the site. Okay. And this, let's highlight number 2. I would say this is the rock wall going down Drake Street. So you can see it in itself is as well significant and definitely part of the overall site and structure. Number 4 is looking back down Drake Street. You can see it minimizes as it gets up toward the parking area, but it does grow as it gets toward Canoga. Okay, I think that's all I have. And I believe that's all I have, so I'm here free to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Grooms?
I just want to know, did you remove the daffodil bulbs from the rock wall? Because the daffodils grow.
They're still there. I got asked about that one at the last one, and I've actually, I was a little concerned. I saw some of them popping up at the beginning of January, and I thought, oh no.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Grooms.
Thank you very much.
Right. We can open the public hearing. Has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Madam Mayor, it has.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. We have one person signed up to speak this evening in person. That's Ken Fitch.
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. This project, despite its unfortunate entanglement in a previous larger rezoning proposal that had major contentious issues that this project does not present, now this project appears before you after a process of productive discussions and positive changes to its plan. and sincere efforts to address impacts. There are issues that you may further review and discuss regarding traffic and access. And Phase 2 of the project, with its proximity to the floodplain, does raise questions of advisability, viability, and possibility. But we do have staff experts who may address these aspects. Because we do have a new awareness of storm and flood events, and these Phase 2 elements of the plan do deserve further productive discussion, for which this applicant is clearly a worthy participant. However, this project is quite special and admirable, as it would entail an adaptive reuse of a distinctive historic building dating back to 1900. Look at that historic stonework on that building that is repeated on the other historic stonework on the site, on the walls. And this was all done by hand by the first residents there. And this building is certainly an appropriate, compatible historic anchor for this location, adjacent to dedicated farmland. Early in the process, there was concern about the trees. That is involved into a positive commitment that although one major tree would be removed, 3 other major trees are designated for protection and preservation. And there are additional new plantings around the site. In previous discussions of the plan, we encountered this issue of required sidewalks. This would require removal of the existing historic stone walls, and what would happen then? And then replace them with impervious sidewalks and disruption of the existing ditch network. Not a good idea for an area experiencing major floods. Fee in lieu has been proposed as an alternative. In my view, given the historic character of the site and its historic stonework features, I would suggest we waive the fee in lieu on the condition that the historic stone wall features on site be retained and maintained, except for the proposed entry on Canoga. Adaptive reuse of our historic legacy does not often occur, and we should welcome and support that opportunity here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Is there anyone online seeking recognition to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, then we'll close that public hearing. Council, discussion or a motion?
I just want to say, I don't disagree, with Ken about the wall and the sidewalks. And I assume that we just have some discretion on that as well. Is that right, Matt? Or...
No, I want you to answer.
Yeah.
We do not. So there's a requirement for new construction to provide sidewalks, a fee in lieu of sidewalks based on the fee schedule and the linear foot from property line to property line, including corner lots. Or take that equivalent distance, length, and build sidewalks elsewhere in the city. So or a condition that waives one side or the other, or both.
So, I mean, you could make it a condition that you're waiving, however, as your city manager, I would say you're setting the precedent as it relates to sidewalks in your community, or in our community. So, but, I mean, clearly,
But we could waive them on that side of the property and then request that the fee in lieu be used at another location. But, I mean, I completely agree about disrupting that retaining wall.
So the way we would be to direct staff just to prepare the fee in lieu of, and we just.
So I'm a little unclear, because if you're waiving it, they wouldn't have to do a fee in lieu. okay? And so if you're waiving the condition, or waiving the requirement. So if you want them to do a fee in lieu and use that somewhere else and not put them there, that's he can do that now with John's approval.
I think she's saying that she wants to do it for part of it, right? So like, instead of doing sidewalks on both streets, on two sides of the property, we only want them to do it on the one that doesn't contain the retaining.
But then you would not require a fee in lieu for the other side?
Or you
would?
do want the fee?
Yeah.
We would want the fee for the
Yeah.
one side.
So, yeah.
You're not really
we-
waiving it.
You're not waiving it, then I have the authority to,
Right, you're
do
not
that.
really waiving
Okay.
it.
Don't need a condition.
That's-
you don't need a
that's what-
condition.
Well, you're not talking about
Yeah.
You can
introducing.
tell them.
We want a
that's your
little bit of column
preference.
A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah, we want
Yeah.
what Ken said and then some.
I mean,
But that direction can be given to staff, and we can act
Okay, that's what I
Right,
was,
without a
that's right.
condition.
sorry.
And is that
No,
the
it's-
same as, so a fee in lieu is the same as the option, which is to have the same length somewhere else in the capacity that we could direct staff to do that? with
Yes.
The fee in lieu?
Well,
Yeah.
it's the developer's choice
For the
of-
choosing,
for choosing fee in lieu or not, but you can tell.
they can
tell-
request it.
You can request it, that's correct.
Developer can request fee in lieu, and then staff can make a recommendation to City Manager John Connett that we either accept or that we can build in another location.
Right.
And then John makes that final decision and convey that on.
If you want to mandate what you're talking about, you would offer that as a proposed condition, that on this side, we mandate fee in lieu, on this side, we want the sidewalk, and then it would be up to the developer to accept that condition or not.
Would you accept that condition?
It's, I think what I had intended and hoped kind of all along was just the ability to take the linear footage and apply that basically wherever you would like, as opposed to a fee in lieu of.
And you can do that in the.
My cost for doing a sidewalk
It's a
compared
lot
to the
less.
fee is not even comparable. And
Right.
so it would make, the ultimate goal is to achieve a certain linear footage of sidewalk wherever that may be. I would ultimately prefer to just perform the work somewhere else.
You do the work.
I don't, we don't have to do any extra words if we're doing it
No,
that way.
if you want to mandate it, then you do.
But it sounds like we're all on the same page.
Okay.
But we do want to mandate it, right? If that's something that you agree to and we want to ensure that that's what gets done with it, I think we need to say that, right?
Right.
And when you say fee in lieu,
No,
No.
it would be
okay.
We're not saying fee in lieu.
construct
We're
it
not
on the
sure
one
what we're
side and
No,
build it
it's
somewhere
gonna-
else for the other side.
Right.
In exchange for,
Right. So I don't know what the language is for that.
do you want the rock wall can be part of it too, like Rich was suggesting? In exchange for preserving the rock wall, except the entrance off of Canuga.
The one thing that we don't know for certain at this point, while we maybe haven't made a more specific recommendation related to this, is that, you know, can a sidewalk be installed without damaging or requiring that the rock wall go away? If we can achieve both, then that would be potentially on Canuga. That would put in place a segment of sidewalk that would get people out of harm's way. It only takes one more segment to get to State Street. State Street is a priority project in the Walk-Indo. Start piecing some things together. That can't be achieved without damaging the rock wall. The direction I'm hearing is that then we want to look at another site as the next plan.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's why I'm not sure we need to put anything in there.
Yeah, because if you're already managing it and handling it in that way,
Yeah.
then that's completely fine.
Yeah, and this direction is affirmation of what we need to
Yeah.
do to move it forward.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
This motion don't need any more words, y'all.
Okay, no words. We got you. All right.
Any other comments or discussion or a motion?
You want me to do it? All right. I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the City of Hendersonville, changing the zoning designation of the subject property, pins 9568-61-2215, from R15 Medium Density Residential Zoning District to C4 CZD Neighborhood Commercial Conditional Zoning District for the renovation and reuse of an existing structure for professional office and construction of 4 townhomes based on the preliminary site plan and list of conditions submitted by and agreed to by the applicant and presented at this meeting and subject to the following. The development shall be consistent with the site plan, including the list of applicable conditions contained therein and the following permitted uses: professional office building, 4 residential dwellings, single family attached. The petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville Gen H comprehensive plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the petition for C4 CZD zoning is consistent with the future land use and conservation map designation for family neighborhood living because of the small scale of the proposed commercial use and the fact that it is going in an existing residential structure, which maintains the neighborhood character. Additionally, the proposed residential units would be permitted by right under current zoning. We find this petition to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from the staff analysis, public hearing, and because the proposed zoning is compatible with surrounding residential and non-residential land uses. The proposed zoning allows for a mix of uses at an intersection which experiences significant vehicular traffic. The proposed zoning allows for nodal development with non-residential uses confined by floodplains and located along the minor arterial roadway. Surrounding low density residential uses primarily front and gain access from local streets.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of this conditional rezoning say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and Kate, start working on that. Thank you. Next, turn the page over. There we go. We have a zoning text amendment, C2 dimensional standards.
Yes, ma'am. This is a zoning text amendment initiated by staff that's specific to the C2 zoning district. That's our secondary business zoning district. And in many ways, this is another in a series of zoning text amendments that's related, that staff is pursuing related to the 2024 downzoning law. Prior to that law, the city would have been more likely to use its authority to do parcel-based or small area rezonings as a more fine-tuned tool to accomplish the ends that are attempting to be achieved with this amendment, or as best we can given the current condition of the law. However, reducing the dimensional standards of an existing zoning district is our alternative solution to that, the difficulty with doing rezonings. So this map illustrates all the C2 that's in the city. It's not a widespread, and the ETJ, it's not a widespread zoning district. Makes up about 3% of the city's zoning in terms of land area. It was initially used, as best I can tell, as a zoning district just outside of downtown, so C1 and then C2, and it's morphed over time and been used in different ways. There are areas of C2 adjacent to I-26 and Howard Gap Road that are either vacant or underutilized and appear to generally be used for low-density residential mixed with some manufacturing and storage. The C2 districts that are on the periphery of downtown are the principal focus of this proposed text amendment due to their potential for redevelopment. So just taking a look at what is being proposed, the first is to change and essentially eliminate the minimum lot size, take it down to 0, and so there's no minimum lot size. This would allow for, and we've done this on some other zoning districts, it allows for townhomes, so that you can have those small individual lots cut out along the footprint of the building, or of the unit. So this, the second change relates to the elimination of lot width for residential uses. Again, it's a townhome issue, not the main focus of what we were doing here, but it was something that made sense with our comprehensive plan, and so we were proposing to do that since we were getting in here and making modifications. The third one and the main one is the reduction of the front setback. A minimum 15-foot front setback is not enough to if you just did 15 feet from your property line, you're not going to have enough space to put your parking in front of your building. So you're going to end up pushing back even further so that you can accommodate parking in the front. And so that pushing back the buildings and placing parking in the front is what's contrary to the vision that's been established in our comprehensive plan. So this results in a suburban style of development, automobile-centric, that's predominant in the C2 zoning district, as well as a number of our other zoning districts are along our commercial corridors. Staff has proposed some nuance to this, so we recognize sidewalk expansion is going to happen in certain areas. You think along 7th Avenue where we have C2. The sidewalks we just installed are 15 feet wide. So if we did a zero setback, then you wouldn't have room to expand those sidewalks. So we've included some language that for that, and then clarified the side setback. No real change there. And so as we start to look at the comprehensive plan consistency, just want to highlight the primary purpose of the zoning text amendment is to allow for better implementation of the city's adopted vision for growth and development. And you can see this overlap of where the C2 falls along 7th Avenue on the north end, Canoga and White Street down there around Busy Bend, and South Grove and the Above the Mud proposed trail, Mud Creek floodplain. Each of these areas are identified for walkable urban development in the Gen H plan, and I'll provide some more information on that. Also note that there's a significant amount of property in the floodplain along the railroad tracks. It's kind of that above the mud area east of downtown that's zone C2, which is not in the downtown or the mixed-use commercial future land use character area. It's in the open space character area. This portion of C2 zoning is also overlaps with the downtown master plan study area. And you may recall that that chapter 5 of the Gen H plan includes design standards that should be employed to shape future development and redevelopment to create a dense, walkable, high-quality environment in the city's core. The downtown study area is broken into 4 sub-districts, with C2 being located in 3 out of 4 of them, the 7th Avenue, Downtown Edge, and Lower Trailhead. And so for each of those, we did a focus area where conceptual illustrative designs of the type of development that is desired and that could be achieved if you follow the design standards that are laid out in the downtown master plan. Those were provided. One of the key ways to achieve this vision is by bringing building edges up to the sidewalk and placing parking to the side or rear of lots, or better yet, providing parking in consolidated locations such as parking decks. So this is just this illustrates that. The design standards go on to provide guidance, further guidance for private development, such as maximum setback lines, build-to zones, build-to percentages, and these complement and interface with a well-designed public space. Currently, the new development in the C2 zoning district cannot be designed in conformance with the downtown master plan, these design guidelines. Adjusting the dimensional requirements in C2 will allow new developments that choose to develop in conformance with our design standards to do so. And then furthermore, as the city pursues formal adoption of these design standards as part of a downtown design overlay district, then these adjustments to C2 will allow those new design standards to align with the standards of the underlying zoning district in conjunction with that overlay district. More to come on that effort. So in summary, with the comprehensive plan consistency, staff finds the proposed changes to the dimensional standards in C2 to be consistent with both the downtown character area and the mixed-use commercial character area in the land use map. For compatibility, staff reviewed the goals and guiding principles of the Gen H plan and existing conditions, and found that the amendment is compatible, given that it allows for a desired pattern of development which is compatible with the traditional urban form found in portions of the C2 zoning district, mainly along 7th Avenue, for example. Further, we find the amendment to be compatible given its alignment with the goals and guiding principles of the comprehensive plan. Staff also considered and showed some images of this for the downtown master plan and found that it was consistent with the 3 focus areas that were mentioned, the lower trailhead, downtown edge, and 7th Avenue focus areas. Also consistent with recommendations for public realm, site design and building design. Most notably, for the site design standards, the reduced setbacks allow for the type of build-to zone standards that are outlined in the downtown master plan. These standards essentially work as maximum setbacks. And so where you're requiring that those buildings be up along the edge of the public space. The third criteria considered, I mentioned that the text amendment is in response to changes to state law, limitations in the city's authority to implement the vision of the Gen H plan through area-wide rezonings. The public interest is that it allows for developers to pursue implementation of the city's downtown master plan design standards. For public facilities, staff found that the proposed text amendment have potential to allow for greater utilization of existing public facilities by creating additional opportunities for infill development, and there are no known impacts for natural environment. Planning board supported staff's consistency statement, and that's provided on the screen here, and they also put forth the rationale for approval on the screen, and we have some rationale for denial for your consideration. I'll answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Madam Attorney, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
Thank you. So we'll open the public hearing. One person present has signed up to speak. Ken Fitch.
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. Once again, you have before you another text amendment that would comply with state law, guidance, and regulations, as well as facilitate more development and density on underutilized properties and address the missing middle syndrome with townhomes as a desirable permitted use in more areas of the city, to mention one possibility. I've spoken before to many of these text amendments with the observation that these may be appropriate for some underutilized sites in the city, but not appropriate at other locations, given the diverse geography, terrain, road systems, wetland adjacencies, and other conditions. In this case, any project that complies with the amended ordinance would be permissible, but thereby there is no assurance that a project would be compatible in appearance or function with the location and its character. This amendment would apply to a portion of 7th Avenue, and this does bring to mind a previous applicant proposed text amendment to facilitate a unique residential use for the area. But that amendment was met with opposition in the 7th Avenue area from various stakeholders with concerns regarding gentrification, the viability of the commercial corridor, and the character of the area, along with the inevitable issues of parking and traffic, etc. And that particular amendment thereby did not go forward at the time, given the opposition and the issues. And up to this point, none of the stakeholders in that controversy has participated in this discussion or this amendment. But those issues remain because we have a development by right situation in which we will not know exactly what will occur and what it will look like and its compatibility. But the amendment here does bring with it the potential for greater development and density in 7th Avenue and other areas. And that development does raise other issues that we should not forget. Given the historic small-town infrastructure on 7th Avenue and other areas, The increase in density may generate the need for upgrades in infrastructure and provision of utilities and services that may prove complicated and costly. And we remember the surprises encountered on 7th Avenue. And then the costs. That connects to another issue, that the costs of infrastructure and services in some locations may exceed budgeted funding. And then this would have the potential impact of the need for rise in taxes and services and utility fees to meet costs. And this taps into yet another connection, a major concern for many residents, that the need for any tax increase or increases in service and utility fees, no matter how incremental, have economic impact, especially on workforce homeowner families, whether they are active, retired, or entry level, for whom affordability is a major concern, as we have been discussing in matters for some time now. But I know we do not often think of these connections to increase growth, density, and development in these seemingly simple deliberations and these amendments, but they do have a connection and a line of impact. And those impacts are very much on the minds of the workforce families of the city. So when we make these decisions, we have to realize that it has lines to other impacts in the life of the residents of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Is anyone online seeking recognition to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, we'll close that public hearing. Council, discussion or a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official City of Hendersonville zoning ordinance Article 5, zoning district classification section 5-7 to update the dimensional standards for the C2 secondary business zoning district based on the following. Petition is found to be consistent with the Gen H comprehensive plan based on the information from staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the proposed amendment aligns with the Gen H comprehensive plan, future land use map, and downtown master plan. Find this petition in conjunction with the recommendations presented by staff to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from staff analysis, and because the proposed amendment allows for greater utilization of private property, the proposed amendment creates an opportunity to accommodate infill development, and the proposed amendment allows for walkable urban development.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of this zoning text amendment say aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I guess my concern is, I know this amendment is so that we can maybe build more houses on smaller lots, right? That's what this was?
Not really.
I mean, the root is that we have to do it
We have to do it.
according to state statute.
Well, go, Lou.
Yeah, so a couple points of clarification. There's no change in the permitted density allowed. There are no changes in the permitted uses allowed with this zoning text amendment. So C2 has an established list of uses. We're not adding any to that list. And it has an established density that's allowed, and we're not changing that. This is a dimensional shift. So right now, any construction that would occur on the site has to be set back a certain distance. We're reducing that setback to allow for different types of development to occur on the site. Now, that is literally just the position of the building. It doesn't change the number of units that, if you have a half-acre lot, and today you can put 4 units on that lot, tomorrow you will be able to put 4 units on that lot and no more. Just instead of having to set it back 15 feet from the edge of the sidewalk, you'll be able to go up to 5 feet, which from a design and
Appearance.
look and feel and appearance and the kind of character of the 7th Avenue district that our downtown master plan and our comprehensive plan laid out, that's the direction we're wanting to go. So we want to be clear, there's no shift in unit count or density that's being added to
Or types of
zoning
uses.
districts, or
type-
types of uses, yeah. So if whatever is permitted from a residential perspective today, not changing, and will be the same today as it will be tomorrow.
And the piece about the state law is really, prior to the state law, the other way to make this, correct me if I'm wrong, the other way to make this change would be change the zoning from C2 to C1, which is what our downtown area looks like, right? The idea is to make it look more like a downtown area, but because of state law, we cannot change the zoning from C2 to C1. So what we have to do, and what we're asking the council to do, is to change the dimensional standards to be more in line with the C1 district. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. Any down zoning, which is now very broadly interpreted, is not permitted without property owner signature. So without getting them to go along with it, we can't introduce a new standard that restricts the development on the site in some way that it isn't already restricted.
That satisfy your questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else? Right. We will take the vote then. All those in favor of the zoning text amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and that text amendment will go into effect. All right, new business. A resolution for the City of Hendersonville to apply for U.S. DOT build grant for the Hendersonville Downtown Streets Modernization Project. New streets for new business. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So why am I here? We applied, I don't know why I'm here. We applied for a build grant through the U.S. Department of Transportation in 2025. We're not selected. We found out last summer that we were awarded a project of merit. Unfortunately, that didn't get us as far as we had hoped, so we now have to, based on a new notice of funding opportunity that was released in mid-December, we found out that we have to apply for a whole new application for this round of build. The good news is there's more money available. There's a $1.5 billion available, so hopefully they'll be able to fund more projects. Again, we made it as far as getting to the U.S. Secretary of Transportation's desk. Hopefully we get that far and beyond this time. But we've had to change some things because of that notice. NOFO stands for Notice of Funding Opportunity. There were some changes to what are considered areas of persistent poverty. They redefined some things, so that's requiring us to not just add to or slightly modify our submission. We have to kind of rethink it and redo it. So this is just some background on how we got here. We first started with the Above the Mud project way back in, I think it was even prior to 2022. We were prepared to apply for a RAISE grant, which is what the build grant was called before, but decided not to in the spring of 22. Later in that year, in the fall, we applied for, it was called a Reconnecting Communities Planning Grant. We were shortlisted for that. We were not selected, unfortunately. And then between 23 and 24, we applied for and received a grant through NCDOT to do a feasibility study for Above the Mud, which helps us in this regard because it gets us the good planning information that we can use for these applications. And then, like I just mentioned, we applied for a raise grant last year, weren't selected, and now the raise grant is, the deadline is February 24th. So, these were the project components that were part of the Above the Mud grant last year. And so what have we had to do? We've had to cut back on some of our components. So unfortunately, we can't call it Above the Mud anymore because we're not going above the mud. We've had to take out the trail piece of the two trail components of this application. The notice of funding opportunity is also written more around roads and bridges, street infrastructure, so hence the dropping of the components, a couple of the components, the renaming of the project. And so we're keeping component 2 and 3, which is the 7th Avenue streetscape improvements, basically kind of extending the improvements that we did up to the railroad tracks down to the existing Ocklawaha Greenway, and then adding a festival street down on South Main, so from Allen South down to the existing Acosta Trail. This is from the application from last year, so this is kind of what a concept of that festival street might look like. Again, it's a concept, so we would have plenty of time to refine designs and ahead of construction once we hopefully get the grant. Project benefits: improve pedestrian bicycle safety. We're realigning it to be more aligned with the US DOT's current safety and economic competitiveness criteria. It would support downtown vitality and local businesses, and it would build on prior investments that we've made to 7th Avenue and South Main. Those rendering or screenshots are from, if you recall, the South Main area was looked at as part of the Parks and Green Space Master Plan. There was an amendment to that, or an appendix to that, and those were some things that you, I believe, seen before. So the funding snapshot: last year we went for the total project cost was going to be over $25 million. We've reduced the total project cost. We're sitting at about $22 million. The request is going to be for 18.8. In last year's application, I want to say we were at about 24. The cap for the ask is $25 million. The local match is 2.8, so we've been able to raise the 2.8, or raise that amount, or that number from last year. Last year we were at 1.6. How did we do that? We received a 7th Avenue small business grant to focus on sidewalk infrastructure on 7th Avenue. We could actually use that as a match, provided we don't start the construction before we're under contract with, or have entered into an agreement with US DOT, if we get the grant. It would also involve a stormwater grant that hopefully Mike Huffman would be able to get for some street trees and silva cells or soil cells, like we had on 7th Avenue. There would be forest account sidewalk work and water upgrades on the south end of South Main. And this is just a reminder of that we've gone through kind of an exhaustive amount of community engagement, which has been great. We've gotten great feedback. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to do a whole lot of that this time, since we found out a week before Christmas that we would have to completely redo the application, and it's due February 24th. Our consultant, Alta Planning and Design, did last year's application, and who also did the successful Brevard Raise Grant application for the Acosta Trail. They have feverishly been working on the draft application. So this is just a summary of some of the outreach that we did up to now, and we're currently working on letters of support, thanks to Allison and Matt, and we've received 11 to date. We had received 36 last year. So that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, try to answer them.
Questions?
One thing that I did want to point out is there was a resolution in your packet. It was slightly modified. We have been working with Alta, and
it is at your place.
I've got some copies.
The new resolution has been
it just includes the match. We didn't have the match number before yesterday, so.
No questions?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council approve the resolution to submit a build grant application to USDOT for the Hendersonville Downtown Streets Modernization Project, New Streets for New Business.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and continue to work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. And did want to mention that we have not dropped above the mud. We're going to look for other funding opportunities for the trail.
Thank you.
Should have mentioned that.
Okay, and I guess you're still up here for the Fifth Avenue and North Oak intersection study.
Yep. Thank you. So last year, it was brought to our attention that there had been some issues at Fifth and Oak intersection, and we have had 12 reported crashes over the last 4.5 years, which is a lot for a neighborhood intersection. 100% of those involve failure to yield to Fifth Avenue cross traffic. So in other words, folks not stopping on either end of Oak, mostly traveling north on Oak, but you can see there 75% involve northbound Oak Street traffic. There were 2 injury crashes, 1 serious, mostly property damage, and sight distance was frequently cited. So with that, we hired McAdams, who is going to be working on our bicycle master plan update. And they completed an intersection study. They looked at those listed elements. So it was kind of an exhaustive study. Relatively inexpensive, but they went through a significant effort to put this together. They looked at roadway geometry, traffic control, our network, especially in that area, our road network, traffic volume, speed data, capacity analysis, crash history, which I had on the previous slide, and sight distance. Those are just figures out of their study, which I think you had already seen when I presented this last year. So the recommendations, in a nutshell, an all-way stop is warranted at the intersection. I don't have it on the slides, but they did look at the possibility of a signalized intersection. It's not warranted because of the traffic counts on north and coming north and south on Oak just don't warrant. There's not enough traffic in that those directions to warrant a signal. So four-way, all-way stop is warranted. There are other options, long-term options that could be looked at. It wasn't part of that study, but they did mention a couple things, sightline improvements and traffic calming, a mini roundabout, if we would care to look at that at some point in the future, or a traffic circle that would require some corridor-wide treatments. But again, that would be if down the road we would ever want to look at something alternative to a four-way stop. So this is what it would look like to implement the four-way stop. We clear the vegetation that we could that's in the right-of-way, maximize sight lines, install stop signs and all-way plaques on Fifth Avenue, install permanent stop-ahead signs on Fifth Avenue, and remove cross-traffic does not stop plaques. If you recall, we did that last year to try to alert folks coming on Oak that, look, the traffic on Fifth Avenue doesn't stop. Install all-way plaques on North Oak, and then modify the flashers, because currently the flashers are red in one direction, yellow in the other. Couple things that aren't on here, we would likely post, put some signage out to let people know that the intersection is, that the treatment is different at the intersection. That's best practice in the MUTCD. And we could, it's not on the immediate implementation, but we could even do some high visibility markings on the road on Fifth Avenue to let people know to stop. Questions?
Question one.
I personally think the four-way stop would work, maybe. Sometimes they don't adhere to the one on Justice and First Avenue, but the yellow and red flashing lights, I believe, is what's causing the confusion there and the accident. Four-way stop. Service better.
You sure you don't want to do a mini roundabout, Jen?
No mini roundabout.
Might need some right away.
We might need all the right away.
Take my whole front yard.
No, I think the four-way stop will be effective.
Yeah.
I think
And honestly, this is kind of a good primer for future, if we get requests like this in the future or notice issues at intersections, this is the exercise to go through. It's actually best practice by MUTCD to actually go through a study like this, so.
I mean, I do think there are a couple private property things in that intersection that would be great if they were not where they are, so that you could actually see people coming. Because even when you stop, you're still not going to be able to see people coming. But it, it's just like a sign that needs to move.
Sign is bad. Also, I mean, too, if the engineers are out and they think that we have shrubbery, on the corner of our property that would help with sightline improvement, I mean, just like let us know, because we have personally provided first aid to several injuries, and they're not minimal injuries from these crashes. And I think the last one that ended up in the dentist's front yard, I mean, they were steps away from the front door of his office. And I know the engineering office across the street has been recording data as well, and it's been pretty bad, and definitely increasing in frequency.
Yeah, and I want to say that'd be the northwest corner. I think there are some holly bushes that are kind of quite large. I mean, we can't, well, obviously, provided you all want to, we will move forward with the four-way stop, but we can also look at, I know we know what the right-of-way shows on GIS, but we can actually start locating some pins to figure out what we might be able to take down just within the right-of-way.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of City Council, we have prepared an ordinance for the council to adopt as part of the recommendations.
The ordinance that is printed somewhere is correct, because this is a speed limit ordinance on Chadwick.
Yeah, so it's just the title that's wrong.
Okay.
Just move to adopt and then read the title.
Okay. Madam Mayor, oops, sorry.
Yep.
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council approve the proposed ordinance and direct staff to add an all-way stop at the intersection of Fifth Avenue West and North Oak Street as presented in the finding of the recently completed intersection study.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the ordinance say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and they can get to work on that. Thank you. All right, City Manager.
Mayor Volkman, City Council, included in your agenda packet are our January contingency and adjustment reports that are typically, and we stand by to answer any questions you may have tonight or anytime outside of that regarding that. And then secondly, as we continue our trip down memory lane, reminding the folks, the council and the folks online, that Mayor Volk is retiring in December, and in her honor, I go through and find some minutes over her almost 37-year tenure, just to show the impact that Mayor Volk has had on our community. So I pulled, as I said last week, we're doing 3 years at a time. I did January 1993 last month, and this month I'm doing February of 1996. So at the February 8, 1996 meeting, there were various items on the agenda. A couple of the highlights include an agreement to extend water to Mills River Village Phase 2. Again, it was over 3,200 linear feet extended out toward Mills River, extending our water system. We extended water line extension for Kenmure Phase 4. That development now is just, we feel like it's always been there, but this is the point that the city was extending water lines through that area for another phase at Kenmure. But I think the most important thing, and it was brought up a couple times tonight related to 7th Avenue, there was discussion at that meeting in February of 96 regarding establishing the 7th Avenue Committee. There was the members of the historic 7th Avenue Merchants Association addressed the council regarding their concerns about the perception of the area, crime in the area, and how could the city and the public work together to improve the 7th Avenue area. One of the things was that was asked was about the bill. There was a needs study previously completed prior to this date about possibly relocating the police and fire departments in the area to or close to the area. We've accomplished that, Mayor, as part of your tenure. Also, there were lots of options also to increase police protection. Secondly, about setting a formal committee organization which became the 7th Avenue Committee, and then ultimately has been brought in-house as part of our downtown organization. And also, there was talk about other studies that could be done, and now you see what we have on 7th Avenue. So kind of a historic start to our work on 7th Avenue. Other things that happened around that time, that was the main one. There was actually a second meeting, and I think this is even more impactful. There was a second meeting in February, Mayor, where our engineer, Charles Willis of Willis Engineers, submitted and reviewed a preliminary engineering report and process design on improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. City Council received 2 options. The first dealt with renovating the existing plant. The second option, in which it was his preference, was moving off-site and building what is now the current 4.8 million gallons per day plant with a new layout. And also continuing I&I abatement was necessary, one of the quickest ways. So a lot of interesting things, a lot of water under the bridge, Mayor, so to speak.
That's for sure.
From 1996 to today. But I think, again, just showing your impact on our community over the last 37 years. And we'll continue to do this all the way up to December. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the memories. Okay, City Council, anything anyone wants to mention? If not, we do have closed session.
Interclosed session. 1.11, A1, 4, and this United States not considered a public record with statutes relating to the location body and to consider the qualifications, competence. Oh, I turned it off. Sorry.
Sorry, I'll say.
Thank you. Any discussion? Not, those in favor of entering closed session say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, and we will
Vote, members of the city council and the members of the public, we did have a closed session. One of the items we discussed was regarding personnel matter, a matter that involved employee in the police department. I'll ask Chief Mahan to please stand. He has a statement that he wants to read. We can't answer questions. I'll let him read the statement, but we wanted to put it on the record, what was discussed, and let Chief Mahan address it.
Thank you, sir. Blair Myhan, Police Chief. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I have a statement to read to you here, and it says that the Hendersonville Police Department received an internal complaint on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, involving the misuse of off-duty employment by Captain Kenneth Hips. An internal investigation was immediately begun that resulted in his termination on January 27th, 2026. To ensure an independent and unbiased review of Hipps's actions, I requested the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation to conduct a criminal investigation, and I notified District Attorney Andrew Murray of the same. North Carolina SBI is investigating this allegation at this time, and I will say that personally, allegations of misconduct in our department will never go overlooked, and we will always hold ourselves accountable for our actions. We are already in the process of implementing new systems that will prevent this sort of thing from happening again in the future, and I want everybody to know that the actions of Captain Hips do not define who we are as an agency. That is the end of my statement, and I don't know if it's appropriate for questions, John, but here if the council has any.
And I will, just as part of our release of this information, City Communications Director Allison Justice will be submitting that statement in addition with a copy of the termination letter that was sent to Captain Hips that has some additional information. Not much more, but it does have some information regarding the nature of what he was accused of and what is being investigated by the SBI. So that information will be available to the news media, and Communications Director Allison Justin will be sending that to you, so you will have copies of both. So I don't think we would take any statements at this time or any questions at this time. Again, it is a criminal investigation. We don't do anything to hinder that. So, but we wanted our citizens to know that we take these allegations and this kind of action very seriously. That is not the culture we want in our organization. We wanted you to hear it from us first and be very transparent. That is what the City Council expects of their staff. That is what they've demanded of us. So we want to do that at this time. So thank you very much, Mayor. That is all that we have.